We didn't really know what to expect. We knew this one was a little different though, because this was that Sunny was a Category 5 and this thing was a monster, you know, so it was pretty sobering. I passed here right around 9 o'clock in the morning, so I thought we had made it by without any trouble. And soon thereafter, I stood corrected.
The whole city was just like in silent. It was just dead, no lights, no nothing. You know, we knew we had our work cut out for us, so we started gathering up and getting our crews together.
Yeah, you can see the breach. Okay, yeah, we're done.
This firefighter who was with me at the time said, "Cap, looks like the levees broke over there." And I looked over and said, "Man, I think you're right."
We heard on the radio from out here, right behind where we're sitting, that there was a breach in the levee, and everybody was just gathered around the radio. And once we started hearing reports of flooding, we knew that we were going to go into a different mode, that there was going to be, instead of firefighting, there was going to be more rescues. We could already see that the majority of the city was flooded, and pretty heavily flooded. And we knew it was going to be bad. We just didn't know how bad, and it got worse from there.
When the floodwaters started coming in, that changed the entire dynamic of our responses.
My thoughts were, you know, the city's gone, you know. The city of New Orleans is no more.
We were all split and isolated from one another, so there really was no way to communicate.
We had a portable radio that was worthless. We contacted fire alarm and maybe had a minute's communication with them, and then after that it was dead. So we're basically on our own.
Each company and group, you kind of worked, you know, with your group, and that was it. You knew what you had to do, and you know, we did it.
It goes back to our training, our skill set, our preparedness, our determination, and above all, the courage of the firefighters who just got it together, not only responded, but were able to excel under some very adverse conditions.
We had no rescue boats. Everybody brought in their own boats. I had a 21-foot bay boat. We had 5 or 6 boats up in Engine 1, and we brought our own boats in and we went out on our own. And we started doing rescues from as soon as the winds died down.
They would use the 610 off-ramp as an improvised boat ramp, and it already launched boats and were plucking people out of the water.
There were a few overpasses on the interstate system that were near our location, and we started to get people out and bring them to this overpass because it was a nice steady slope and incline. Helicopters would come over and then air evacuate them out.
We picked up as many people as we could, but one of the amazing things was on top the elevated interstate were all the people up on the interstate asking for help.
People were on their roofs or hanging out their scuttle, pull right up to the roof of the house and assist the people onto the boat.
The problems started to increase because there was no fresh water. There was no medical personnel there. There was nowhere to get out the sun. And there were more people than we could ever imagine to evacuate.
First rescue we got was a gentleman sitting up on a roof, and a woman standing up in a hole. And when we got him, we knew it was going to be bad when she reaches down in the hole and comes up and she's got an 18-month-old baby. And that's when we were all like, wow, this is going to be bad. And then the next house we went to, there were 17 people in it. And the lady goes, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here." She says, it's like you were sent from God.
It was fires burning everywhere. It was just surreal. And we're going over the bridge, and there's a bunch of people jumping up and down on the left-hand side. And we stopped, and it was EMS from the city had walked through the city, and they were walking across the bridge. And we hit a bunch of vehicles, and we were going to get more. And we stopped, and this is men and women, and they were crying, "Please don't leave us, please don't leave us."
But it was pretty bad because you had people come up to you and say, "Look, my daddy's over there. He's a diabetic. He's out of it. Can you come help me?" Well, we didn't have nothing to help him at the time, and it was just more people to help than you could help. So you just did the best you could.
They were able to size up to see which ones needed to help the most. And a lot of times they were passing those who weren't in much distress, and past a lot of angry civilians thinking, why are the firefighters passing me up? Well, they were heading to the person that was 75, 80 years old in that attic that needed to be rescued, or they were going to die on the spot. And a lot of times these angry civilians were waving guns and shooting bullets. And unscathed. Firefighters continued to respond.
I had found these two old ladies in a house, and one of them said their sister was sick in the bed and that she wasn't going to leave, so we give her some water. And I told EMS about it, seen them in the boat, and they said, what you need. They went back and checked on it, and I seen them later that day, and they said, well, the one lady was dead, and the sister wasn't leaving. And that I thought about the whole time. As soon as the water went down, I went back to the house, and when I went there, they had marked on it 2 dead. I said, damn, that poor lady died in there, and you know, she wouldn't leave her sister.
We accomplished over 17,000 rescues from people that trapped in attics or on roofs in situations that they couldn't help themselves. We're talking about hospitals, we're talking about assisted living facilities, we're talking about areas that people had no ability whatsoever to help themselves, and if we don't show up, chances are they probably do die.
Those men and women have given their time for God and country. And we can never forget, just like we never forget those people who were affected by 9/11. They're going to be the first ones there, and they will be the last ones to leave and shut the lights off.
Not a single firefighter abandoned their post. And I think it says a lot about the character, and I think it says a lot about what they knew they signed up to when they came on this job. We were told we were going to be relieved and we were going to go home. And the guy said, not on my watch. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not abandoning the city. I'm born, I live here, my family lived here. I ain't going anywhere. Yeah. I'm going to stay here till the job is done. They were exhausted, but they would have never stopped working, even if we never would have gotten any help whatsoever. That's the mindset that they bring to the job every day. And I don't think people really get how much commitment that takes and how much they're willing to sacrifice on their own accord.
My daughter was 5 and my son was 2, and they evacuated with my in-laws to Texas, and my wife is a local nurse at a local hospital, and she went to work. So I don't think I saw my kids for 24 days. It was the first time I saw them.
You gotta remember, when communications went down, none of these guys had any idea how their families were doing, and their families had no idea whether their loved ones even survived the storm, much less what they were going through to help save the city. You didn't have time to think about it, but I know that had to weigh on you and your family as to everything you owned was wiped out. And I'd have to say that was probably a good 70–80% of the firefighters that reported to work every day knew that they lost everything they had and had no home to go back to.
You couldn't have asked guys to do what they did. It was just that much of an effort. Like, you just sat back amazed at what they were doing.
The public can always rest assured and feel secured that the firefighters will always be there, come hell or high water, on time, every time. We will respond, and without fail, we're not going anywhere.